This is The Bottom Line with Boney Mua.
Thank you, Mr. Godden Zama, for talking to The Bottom Line with Boney Mua.
Thanks for having me.
Trust me, this is the maiden edition of The Bottom Line, and I hope we're going to meet the aspirations of our televiewers. Yeah, for the thousands of Cameroonians who are watching us from within and without the country, they want to know who Mr. Godden Zama is, how he came to the limelight, especially during the recent elections of the chairmanship of the Social Democratic Front, the SDF. Who is Mr. Godden Zama?
I'm first and foremost a father, a husband, and a citizen fighting for the people. I'm someone who is passionate about defending the cause of the downtrodden. And I've been the district chairman of the SDF in Limbe since 2014. And also the divisional secretary for the faculty division of the SDF.
Yes, but I want to talk about the genesis. I mean, your educational background and how you came to be where you are today. You're relatively a young person. And people say you have a big heart. How did you start?
I went to a Presbyterian school, PSS Manko in Bamenda, 7 years, secondary and high school, and after I studied management at the University of Boya. Right afterwards, I got into the civil society and then into business. I set up a couple of businesses before a school when I started out, Nigerian primary school, but also into real estate and other interests. I also run a football team. And recently, I bought over a football team in Serbia.
Yes, this multifaceted position of Mr. Godden Zama begs us to ask a few questions. There is like a fine line between politics, business, politics, and crime and stuff. How do you manage all this?
Well, for me, politics is about defending the people, and that's something I'm passionate about. My foray into politics and as leader of the SDF in Limbe has always been to defend the interests of the people. And that is why I've always been at the wrong side of the law, because I always took the position of defending the people. That's why severally I've been in problems to the administration, in problems sometimes to the police force, because when they decided to break down the shops of local sellers in Limbe, I stood up and I defended them. When the SDO was plotting to hand over a community water project to the water supply company, I collaborated with the populations and we stopped them. So I think that the things that affect the people, the things that are of concern to the people are the things that are of concern to me. And this is why I'm passionate about politics. And I understand when people say it's very difficult in Cameroon to mix politics and business, but for me, I think it's something that I'm passionate about and I'm willing to pursue. But I understand because even my close family, they're very wary about my political career, and they're very wary that I even go to prison because of politics. And for them, it will be better if one day I say I'm no more a politician, and I think everybody will be happy. But I feel that inside of me, I have to be the voice of those who don't have a voice. I have to be able to stand up and fight for those who are unable to fight. And I believe that if we all do this, then we can have a better country.
Yes, we'll be coming back on your sojourn in prison, so the Gorden prison. But we want to know more about your political or your relationship with the former SDF chairman, Nejon Fundi, that charismatic figure. How was your relationship?
The chairman was a father figure to us all. He was somebody that when you called, you had a problem, he always pick up the phone, and I think this is one of the particularities with him. You call him whatever time of the day, he'll pick up the phone and provide a solution to your problem. So he groomed all of us. He wanted us to fight for a better country, and I think to his last days, he always fought for a better Cameroon.
Yes, when you look at the initial ideals of the Social Democratic Front at the beginning, the early 90s, everybody bought this idea. Everybody was for the Social Democratic Front. But towards the end of the chairman, it's like he actually deviated from these ideals. Do you buy that point of view?
Well, I was lucky enough to go around the country campaigning to become the new chairman of the SDF, and I talked to a lot of living forces and founding members and fathers of the SDF. And I think that, yes, the SDF lost touch at a certain point with its base. And primarily for me, this was because the chairman has stayed so long in power. And one of the proposals I was bringing up as if I was elected as new chairman of the SDF was to make sure that no chairman of the SDF will be in power for more than 2 mandates. Because like anything in life, if you stay too long, you start having problems. And politics is something that attracts a lot of enemies. And the longer you're in politics, the more enemies you have. So at one point, the late national chairman started fighting. He spent most of the time fighting his enemies who were trying to bring him down and fighting for Cameroonians. So for me, as one of my aspirations was to make sure that if I was chairman, I had 2 mandates to deliver on my promise to the people. And if I couldn't deliver, I'll give one to somebody else to carry on the baton of command.
The same goes with the executive. The present executive today, it has been there for 4 decades plus. Are you also advocating for a permanent or a constant rotation of power so that people can have that new blood, that injection of new blood?
It's refreshing for a country to be able to see a couple of presidents in a short period of time. For most of us, we only know one president. For most young people in Cameroon today, they only know one president. And this is very sad because Cameroon has an overwhelmingly youthful population. And for most of the young people that have only known one president, they haven't experienced change. I think now the onus is on the president to make sure that this is his last mandate. The onus is for the Cameroonian people to make sure that this is the last mandate of the president, so we can have new ideas. And if you have new ideas, no matter if the ideas take us backward or forward, but it's important to have new ideas. So if we have a leader that feels, we are assured that we can, after 1 term or 2 terms, we can elect him out and get in somebody that can do a better job.
Yes, as a follow-up to that question, I want to say some observers in the political ecosystem of the country are expressing the concern to see a young man trying to fill the shoes of somebody like Fundi. Is it because you wanted to perpetuate his legacy, or you were diametrically opposed to him, especially towards the end time of his...
No, it's very difficult to walk into the shoes of a great man. For all of us, Major Fundi is a legend. And I was not trying to follow on his legacy. I was trying to build a path for myself. I was trying to build a path for Cameroonian youths all over the country. And I was trying to tell Cameroonians that it's possible to advocate for something that you believe in and to succeed. And I was not trying to be the new Major Fundi. I was really trying to be Godden Zama and give the hopes and aspirations of millions of young Cameroonians or whatever the dream and aspire for in life they can become.
When you look at the political scene today in Cameroon, with a long-serving president, ailing, some might say, do you propose for a transitional government? As some people are actually saying, transitional government means we have a complete break with this 40 years plus, and then a team comes in to run the country for a given time, let's say 3 years, as being expressed by the former Secretary General of the presidency, Titus Edouard, or you are advocating for that constitutional approach that elections will be organized and for a president to be elected so that there should be that continuity?
For me, I think that it's important that because when you talk about a transition, there are many things in the transition. For example, the existing executive can organize for a transition. Let's say he puts his son into the hot seat. That's a transition. And for me, I don't want that. I want an alternative. I want something that is different from what we're having now. And the best way will be for the nation to elect a new president, to break away from his past and offer a new hope for the people. And for me, particularly, I think that it's about time that we have an Anglophone president, because I think we came to this union in good faith. It's been 60 plus years now since we've been in this union, and it's a very bad situation that we haven't had an Anglophone president. So if you look at the current geopolitics of the country, you look at the war in the northwest and the southwest, I think it's high time that we have an Anglophone president, and then we can take this to our people and say, no, we understand why you have been fighting, we understand why you have been in pains, but now you have a brother that can deliver on the promise and show what the Anglophones can bring to this nation. I think this is a coalition that even the President of the Republic should be part of. The coalition for a new president that is an Anglophone or that is of English expression, that is from the former British Southern Cameroon. So I think that will define my future in politics. And these are the next steps I will take. And if and the political institution that I'm going to be getting into is not passionate about having an Anglophone person, I'm not going to be interested in being part of it.
Surprisingly, Mr. Godden Zama, you resigned immediately after from the SDF when you did not make it to the helm of the party as chairman. That is not a sign of fair play. I mean, in politics, we talk about fair play. You need to, when you fail, when you lose, you embrace your opponent and maybe work with him to see how you can move the party forward.
I think fair play is giving my opponent the opportunity to work as he wants. And for me, it was fair play for me to leave the scene of the SDF. So the new executive of the SDF could do what they want, could say what they want, and could manage the party the way they wanted. Because my political ideology is very different from the political ideology of the new leadership of the SDF. And my vision for my people, because first and foremost, I'm an Anglophone politician. And the things that I'm passionate about are the things that concern primarily the people of the Southern Cameroon's extraction. So I don't think that these things the current executive of the SDF is passionate about. I don't think that these things are hold dear to themselves. And secondly, I'm a politician of the base. So where I'm most comfortable is when I'm with the people. And the current executive of the SDF is an executive that is, I would like to say, more of a Yaoundé executive. They're more comfortable when they're in the offices of Yaoundé. So for me, it's important that there was this rupture, this break, so I could find a political party that best suits my political aspirations and where I feel that I could express my ideologies, my thought process a little bit better. If I remain the SDF, I would have been fighting with the current chairman, which would have been bad for the party. So I took a break. I resigned for fair play, to allow him to express himself a little bit more, a little bit better to his people, and for him to work in good faith and in good nature.
On a more serious note now, have you ever tried to tell him the signpost to follow due to the numerous and challenges that the country is facing today? We have, let's say, the hike in fuel prices, the situation of the Northwest and Southwest regions, and this is somebody who is supposed to be from the former West Cameroon. I mean, and he's somebody from this extraction. Have you ever tried to talk to him on maybe touching base with these people to see how to push this agenda forward?
I would like to borrow a French expression. They say tout le monde a sa façon. That means everybody is born in his own way, and I think that for Mr. O.C. Joshua, there are things that he cares about, and I'll have to allow him to follow his policy and his politics and see where that takes the SDF to. I remember during the campaigns, he said the SDF had to move away from party politics into public policy. And I think that for him, his vision is that the SDF should be closer to the government, to be more engaged in the policy process of the government. For me, I think that there was a time when that could have come into play. When the SDF was very strong, when the SDF had many parliamentarians and many councils all over the country. At that time, we had the power to be able to impose certain decisions on the government. And if we didn't do it, then it's not possible for us to do it now. What the chairman of the SDF now has to do for me is to go back to the base and rebuild the party and reconstitute the militancy of the party, and not trying to be engaged in public policy from a very weak position. If I had won the chairmanship of the SDF, what I would have done was go back to the base, meet the people, re-energize the base of the party, and see what we can get out of that in the next elections. And if we could be able to build a strong and a vibrant party, then obviously we could start looking at the possibilities of going into public policy. Then the party needs rebuilding, the party needs new inspiration, the party needs new leadership that is willing to be there for the people, the party needs new leadership that is willing to fight for the people. And I don't see that coming from the new executive of the.
Do you really see the chairman making headway in the national elections due to his shaky political base? Here we don't know whether his base is Douala, his base is Yaoundé, Littoral, or Toko in the Indian division where he supposedly comes from.
Since I resigned from the SDF, I've hesitated to talk about the SDF because some of the best relationships that I've made in life have been from the party. I know I have a lot of good-natured people in the SDF who have been very supportive of my political ambitions and aspirations, and out of respect for them, I don't want to criticize the SDF this much. But I think that the party is a party that has been in the hearts of Anglophones since the 90s, and the party has a possibility of rebuilding and rekindling this love. But the top of the party has to understand that the power of the SDF comes from the people, and the top of the party has to go back to the people, re-energize the base, re-strategize, go back to the people, meet them, and get them to love the party as they did in the 90s. This is possible because the same problems that the Cameroonians had in the 90s are the same problems Cameroonians are facing today. Nothing has changed. In the 90s, we had problems of corruption. We still have the problems of corruption today. In the 90s, we had problems of unemployment. Today, we still have the problems of unemployment. The same things that we advocated for in the 90s is possible to advocate for these things again today. But we have to be closer to the people. The people have to feel that the SDF is there defending their interests. We cannot have a situation of the massacre in Manfi and you don't see the SDF chairman there talking to the people, visiting the people, reaching out to the people to show that he's passionate and he cares about them. We cannot have a situation of the fuel increase that we had, and you don't see the SDF chairman on the streets talking to people, showing that he feels the concern of the masses. He feels the concern of the people. If
recently he was in Bamenda to see the victims of the fire incident in the Bamenda main market.
Yes, that was good. I think that was good, and I think that he has to do more of that. He has many advisors who can advise him, and I'm sure they try to advise him to do that because before, after the elections, there were key issues that he said nothing about or he did nothing about. So I think that the advisors have realized that no, this is not a good position for him to take, and he can reach out to more people. And if he does, the SDF again will be a very strong party because, as I said, the SDF shares a common identity with the people of English expression of the country, and for us, it's very important that we have a strong SDF.
There are some conspiracy theories saying that the current chair of the SDF has some affiliation with the presidential couple, especially the son of the president. Can that in any way impede some of the plans that he wants to put?
I don't know, and I cannot comment on conspiracy theories, and I don't know the relationship that he has with the first family, but that's left for the people of the SDF to judge, depending on how he does his business as the chairman of the SDF.
Yeah, Mr. Zama, let's talk about your incarceration in the Kondengi Central Prison in Yaoundé. It was which year?
Early 2017, January.
Yes. So what happened?
This was at the outbreak of the crisis, I think, because the crisis started in late 2016, December, and I was arrested in mid-February, so it was at the very start of the crisis. And I think back then, the government was looking to clamp down on influential Anglophone political leaders, and I was the chairman of the SDF, very vibrant and active at that time, and always having run-ins with the administration and the police force because of some of the positions I took. And that is how one day I was arrested at my home and taken to Boya, then from Boya to the gendarmerie headquarters in Yaoundé.
That's the set.
The set, yeah, and then afterwards to Kondengi. It was a very difficult moment of my life, and at some point I felt I was going to spend the rest of my life in prison because when we met the gendarmerie boss in Boya, he told me, he asked me if I had children. I said yes. He said no. Your children are really going to see you again when all of your hair is grey. I mean, I was probably going to spend.
That was a serious joke there.
Yeah, so it was very difficult, but the good Lord enabled me to go through this period, and I'm happy that I came out of it a very strong man.
How did you come out? Did your lawyers, did they fight for you, or was it just an amnesty?
At that point, the government was trying to see if they could make some overtures to the population and get people to go back to school. And I think that we were released based on this. It was a presidential clemency, hoping that maybe our release could help to get children back to school and all of that. And unfortunately, it didn't work out. I think now it's high time that we have to, as a nation, we have to realize that we are we're taking a very dark road, and we have to walk out of darkness into light. And for us to be able to walk out of darkness into light, the main actors have to sit on the table and talk and hope that, whatever darkness that we have taken ourselves into, we can finally find the light at the end of the tunnel.
And your stay in the prison definitely made you to interact with some prominent prisoners or personalities of the Republic. Here, we're talking about like Amadou Vamuke and co. So how did you interact with people, and what is your perception about the people you met?
When we were in prison, it was a very sensitive time, and most of the former ministers in prison ran away from us because they were scared of being tagged as supporting the Zambas Union and all of that. But I think of all of them, one man stood out, the former Director General of the CRTV, Amadou Vamuke. He's a proper gentleman. He spoke proper English and spoke proper French. Anytime we met, we discussed for hours on end. He answered every question. He never shied away from anything. So I found in him somebody that's very inspirational, somebody that's very knowledgeable, somebody that loves his country deeply and has a lot of ideas about how the country can move forward. But also, I was also through him able to learn the bitterness of our nation, the absolute wickedness of some people in this country, and so I think Mr. Amadou Vamuke, if I meet him again, I'll be very happy to say thank you for all the time to spend discussing. For the other people, I remember one time me and my friend Tim Finian, we visited the former Prime Minister, and immediately we left, they called us into the registrar's office to ask us what was the purpose of our visit. And yes. What was the purpose of our visit and why did we were just going to meet a big brother to talk to him and about his stay in prison and all of that. Right?
Did they believe in you?
No, I don't know if they believed or not, but that was it. And after that, we never had a chance to discuss with him again.
Yeah, now that you don't belong to any political formation now, so how do you see yourself pushing your agenda forward? Have some political parties made overtures to you? Have you been to see some of these parties? What is on the ground?
Yes, I've had discussions with a couple of political parties. We have made progress with some, and some we have not been able to make progress. But there are certain things that are very important to me, that are paramount to me when I have a discussion with the political party. And I'm in no haste to join a political party. I have to sit and make sure that the decision we are making is the right decision, because the decision that I make, I don't just make for myself. I make for a team that I'm working with, and I make for the people that I represent. So I want to make sure that whatever political party we finally decide to join as a team, it will be a political party that can best serve the interests of the Cameroonian people.
Yeah, for the upcoming Legislative Council and presidential elections slated for 2025, what would you advise Cameroonians to do to bring about a peaceful change at the helm of power, or a peaceful election?
As I said before, there is one coalition that everybody in the country has to belong to. Even the President of the Republic owes it to this country to be part of this coalition. And that is a coalition for an Anglophone president. Now, the president doesn't have to be the leader of the political party. It doesn't have to be somebody of note. I think as Anglophones, we can sit together as a people. We decide that this is the person that best represents the hopes and the aspirations of our people. And we can give a leader, and all of us, we rally behind this leader to make sure that he becomes the next president of Cameroon. Because if we don't have an Anglophone president in Cameroon, after Paul Biya, it will be very, very difficult for us to find a lasting solution to the Anglophone crisis. Our brothers and sisters in the bush are not asking for this, but I think if we have that in our hands, we can go back to them and say, we have been fighting for 3 years now, for 4 years now. And we have this opportunity to finally show the Cameroonian people what we are made of. To actually show the Cameroonian people what we brought to this union. Give us a chance to do this to you and to the memories of your brothers and sisters who have gone before you.
Yes, you talked about our brothers in the bush. I mean, when I was coming down to Limbe, I saw one billboard. I think it's a film, advertising a film. They call these guys night farmers. The night farmers, this nonsense must stop. What is your take on that? They call them night farmers. It's like they come out in the night, they operate, they do their farming, and they disappear.
Nothing is possible without peace. There is nothing that we can achieve as a nation if we don't have peace. So for me, it's very important that we find a way to find peace. Because all the gains that we have made as a nation for the past 60 years will go into extinction if we don't have peace in this nation in the next 1 year. You can bear with me if you have traveled deep into the interiors of the Northwest and the Southwest and see the amount of devastation, see the amount of heartbreak. There is no person that has lived in these regions or that is coming from these regions that doesn't have a personal story to tell about this crisis. And you've seen the amount of forced migration that has taken place out of the country and within the borders of the country. You can see the amount of destitution on the faces of Anglophones that are currently based in Nigeria, looking for something to eat.
They talked about 700,000 Cameroonians based in Nigeria.
And tons and tons of young Anglophone children who are living in horrid conditions in Douala and in Yaoundé and in Bafoussa and Melong, everywhere. So for me, it's important that we find peace. It's very important that we find peace. And as I said before, there is nothing that is possible without peace. So peace is very important. But as you always say, peace can only go with justice. The first justice that we can do to the people of the Southern Cameroon is to make sure that we have an Anglophone president in 2025.
Yes, Mr. Godden Zama, honestly, I want to harp on this issue of the Northwest and Southwest. You know, it's a problem that's affecting a lot of people, even the government. The government is trying its best to solve the problem, but if we know we talk about 4,000 people who have been killed, more than the same number maimed, and more than 2 million displaced. So what can be done concretely to bring about sustainable peace? We are not just talking about appeasing a few people and then the next day we come back to the same. I mean, what can be done concretely? I like to insist on this issue because it's a very, very important issue.
When you say the government is doing this almost to bring about peace, you should know that the government is made up of people. And that people have self-interest in the world continuing because they are making hundreds of millions on a weekly basis from the war that is going on. You understand? So when you say the government is a sweeping statement, if you are actually looked at individuals in top positions in the government and also in the separatist militias who are making millions and millions on a daily basis from this war. And those people have no interest in the war ending. So it must be an action of the people. It must be the collective will of the people to put an end to this crisis. And for us to be able to go to the people and say, no, it has to stop. The government has to make a big sacrifice. And the big sacrifice must start at the helm of the state.
Yes, and what basis of this Anglophone, people actually fighting the system, places like South Africa, the US, Belgium, Britain. It's like many of these guys have been bought over because now people are, it's like a business now. Mm-hmm. We don't know exactly where we're heading to.
Yes. For me also, Mr. Boney Mua, we have the lack of strong Anglophone leadership in the country. Most of the Anglophone leadership now with influence on the ground is based out of the country, and this is a very big problem because you can only have leadership of a people who don't live and suffer the daily impacts of the crisis. You understand? So we have to look for a way to empower new leadership, new strong leadership on the ground. People who are willing to make sacrifices for the good of their people. And as I said, it's very important for the nation to make the ultimate sacrifice. Because peace is not possible without sacrifice. And the ultimate sacrifice will be for the Cameroonian nation to give the presidency of the Republic of Cameroon to an Anglophone. That is the first step. And with this, we can now go back to our people and say, no, you have fought for this long. You have a president now to address the problems that you have been fighting for. You have your own brother to address the problems that you have been fighting for first, and also to offer to the entire Cameroonian nation what you people aspired for when you became part of this nation. I think that is the first step to peace. Without that, peace is very difficult. Because if I look around the president now, I see a lot of people around him who are trying to be president of the Republic after him for their selfish interests. But at this point, at this juncture, we have to look at the paramount interest of the state. And the paramount interest of the state is to make sure that we have an Anglophone president.
Yes, when you talked about the current strong leadership of the Anglophones is currently based abroad. Have you tried to reach out to this leadership and maybe tell them to come back home, form a political party or join a political party and fight instead of being out there and remotely controlling innocent minds back home?
It's impossible for you to do that with the current regime. There is no trust. There is no trust between the separatist leadership.
Have you reached out?
Yes, I talk with a lot of them all the time. There's no trust between the government and the separatist leadership. There's no trust. Because a handful of them most are in prison, arrested by the Cameroonian government and thrown into prison. How do you think that the other people are going to be encouraged to come back to the country and try to find peace? They know if they come back, they're going to be arrested and thrown into prison. There's no trust. So I think that the biggest overture that the government can make to have peace in Cameroon is to lead by example and to ensure that the next president of Cameroon comes from this region. Then this president and his people can now go back to their people and say, no, we came into this union with a particular set of things we wanted to offer to our people. We have the opportunity now to deliver on this promise. Give us a chance to deliver on this promise. It's never going to be easy, but I think that with this we can find a way.
Yeah, from the onset of this crisis, many people agree that the people of the former West Cameroon had a genuine case. That's poor government or poor governance, poor government services, poor infrastructure, and more importantly, perhaps, the overbearing nature or overbearing use of the French language in administration and the judiciary. What happened for people, for these people now to deviate from this, and now it is like a business?
War is like Pandora's box. I don't know if you know the famous story of the Pandora's box. When it's open, you don't just have good spirits coming out of it. There are also very bad and malevolent spirits coming out of this. But most importantly, if in your family, if you have a quarrel in your family with your brothers, and one of the brothers kills another, and you have blood, family blood that is spilled on the floor, you end up having problems in the family that you don't even know where they're coming from. And I think that the blood of Cameroonians a lot of Cameroonian blood has been spilled on the floor. We need to do general cleansing of the nation to ensure that we can live in peace in this country. And for us to be able to do general cleansing, the killing has to stop. The killing has to stop because you cannot find peace when people continue to die. You cannot find peace when brothers are killing one another. So I think that the nation has a lot of work to do, but the very first step, as I said before, is for an Anglophone to be president come 2025.
Yes, as a final message, what is your take-home message, or what is maybe the advice for Cameroonians after this interview? As I said, this is the maiden edition of The Bottom Line. So what do you tell Cameroonians and how do we move forward?
Well, for me, my message to Cameroonians is that if you have a voice that you think can help to change the nation, don't allow your voice to be silenced.
Thank you for talking to The Bottom Line.
Thank you, Mr. Godden. It was a pleasure having me. Thank you very much.
This is The Bottom Line with Boney Mua.